Now, anyone out there who's ever worked retail has no shortage of stories that they could tell everybody. And being that it's November, the one thing that the majority of people who work in retail dread is the infamous Black Friday. Now, for those of you that don't work in retail, you think of Black Friday as just the beginning of the holiday shopping season. But for everyone that does work in retail, they picture this. Let's face it, for the majority of retail locations, that kind of craziness doesn't happen to everybody. But if your retail establishment does advertise for Black Friday, you do get a crowd. This particular time, I'm going to tell you about probably my worst Black Friday experience that I've ever had. And to say that this is the worst experience I've ever had with over 20 plus years working in retail, yeah, it's pretty big. Now, at the time, I was the retail store manager for Radio Shack.
Okay.
What?
The 80s called. They want their store back.
The year was about 2011, and I know what you're thinking. I know Radio Shack has already gone out of business at this point in time, but back then in 2011, we were still one of the top electronic retailers in the entire United States. So we definitely had a lot of business still coming through our door every single day.
So much more than just a store. The best in America, Radio Shack.
Now, the way it worked in Radio Shack, typically, obviously, the day before Thanksgiving, you start setting up all your displays. You make sure you have all your inventory ready for Black Friday, because obviously you close Thanksgiving Day and you open up early, around 5 o'clock a.m. on Black Friday. You would start setting up all your displays, and then once you close, you would finish setting up the rest of your displays, print out all your price tags, put up all your posters and your signage and stuff, and you would go home. So typically about an hour after you would close, which was normally around 9 o'clock p.m., you would set up the remainder of your displays and all of your fixtures and everything else, and then you would go home to enjoy your Thanksgiving, and then show up early Friday morning to obviously invite in the chaos. But the day before Thanksgiving, I got given a lot of news all at one shot. So 2 members of my staff were actually getting transferred to 2 different locations, and I was getting transferred in to different employees to help cover the loss of employment from the other 2. But then I found out when those employees were being transferred out, I found out the last minute from my district manager that the other 2 employees that were being transferred in were not getting transferred in at all. The stores that were sending the employees to me had not hired the replacements that they needed, so therefore they needed to keep those employees at their location. So now, right before Black Friday, I found out that I'm down 2 employees. The other thing is I actually found out two weeks prior that I had an employee who was quitting. He had found another job. He gave me his 2-week notice. He was a good employee, and I appreciated all the hard work that he did, but he found another opportunity, and I wasn't going to hold him back from it. And it just so happens that Wednesday was his last day. So now I'm down 3 employees. Well, no, technically I'm down a bit more. Turns out I had a 4th employee who also was quitting, but he never bothered to tell me. He just literally quit. And the way I found out is because he never showed up to his shift, and when I call him, he's like, oh yeah, I'm not coming back again. I know, kind of a but it's expected in retail. So now I'm down to just me and 1 other employee. Well, that employee was actually due in around noon that day to start his shift. And since I had the other employee quit, I was ended up going to have to work open the close that day to help set up for the sale. Well, by 1 o'clock, he still hadn't shown up yet, so I had to make some phone calls. Now, after several attempts of calling his cell phone, I finally got through, but it wasn't to him, it was to his wife. She informed me that unfortunately he had been admitted into the hospital for some serious medical conditions. Now don't worry, before you guys jump ahead, he's fine, he's good, he's alive, and he's well today. We're really good friends, and we still keep in contact with one another, but unfortunately, due to his condition and due to his medical problems, he ended up having to retire and never came back to work. And this one really hurt because this guy was my second in charge. So now let's recap. I've got 2 employees that were transferred out, was going to get 2 employees transferred in, which didn't happen. I had 1 employee quit that I knew about. I had another employee quit that I didn't know about, and now my second in command was in the hospital, and pretty much he was out for good. That left me all alone by myself in a retail location the day before Thanksgiving, 2 days before Black Friday. Needless to say,
I just pissed in my pants, and nobody can do anything about it.
so obviously store managers, you know what to do when this situation comes up. What do? contacted my district manager, let him know what's going on with the situation, and pretty much beg for some help, because it's one of the busiest retail days of the entire year, and now I am out my entire staff. He said he was going to make some phone calls and see what he could come up with, but for me, I was going to have to work open to close the rest of that day, and then try and do what I could for the setup of Black Friday. And since I had to work the entire day open to close, and I had to close the store all by myself, I didn't get to do the setup for Black Friday. So I ended up having to leave and come back in Thanksgiving Day while the store was closed to try to do all the setup, to print out all the price tags, to do all the price changes, to set up all the displays, to put up all the posters. So I ended up having to spend 4 hours of Thanksgiving Day all by myself at my store setting up for the sale. And yet I had still not heard from my district manager about employees coming in. Now here comes the glorious day of Black Friday. I came into work at 4 o'clock in the morning. I checked my emails to see if I had anything from my district manager. I had nothing. So at 4:30 in the morning, I end up calling him and saying, hey, is there anybody that's coming to help me? No one. He couldn't get anyone to come help me. And now at 4:45 in the morning, right before open, I've got an entire line of people outside my door waiting to get in on Black Friday, and I'm completely by myself. Well, there was nothing else I could do, so 5 o'clock came around. I opened the door, and it was like that the entire day. I worked from 4 o'clock in the morning all the way until 10 p.m. at night. Black Friday, no breaks, no help, no coverage, the entire Black Friday. And this trend actually continued to Saturday, Sunday, following week. I worked every single day, open to close, by myself, no days off, no lunch breaks, no nothing. With the exception of Christmas Day, because we were closed, I worked every single day from open to close from the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Had off Thanksgiving, then worked Black Friday and every single day after until Christmas Day, open to close. Then the day after Christmas, continued to work open and close every single day. My first actual day off that wasn't a holiday and the store wasn't closed wasn't until almost the end of January. And the funny thing was, the entire district knew that this was happening to me, and I wasn't getting any help from anybody. Nobody was trying to hire anybody extra to send over to me. Nobody was trying to do interviews for me. Nobody was trying to give me some of their extra employees. They were trying to look for extra hours. Nothing. Nobody was doing anything. Turns out the first help I actually got wasn't until the 19th of December, when an employee who was off because he was in college came back home for his winter break and started working part-time. So instead of him going to one location where he was supposed to go, the district manager was immediately said, you know what, you're gonna go work with Matt over at his store, since he is absolutely, about to die. Which is the nice thing about it, this guy was an awesome guy. He was an awesome employee. I've worked with him. I actually trained him years before at another location, and he immediately was like, yep, I'm gonna go help Matt out. Although the funny thing is, the store that he was actually supposed to go to, that manager got super pissed that he was being sent to me instead of being sent to them, and the district manager was like, are you serious? Are you serious? I think it was one of those things where it's like, okay, how about this? You can have that employee, but the rest of your employees all have to go help Matt out, and you're going to work the rest of the time by yourself with just the one employee. How about that? Guaranteed they said no. I didn't actually get a staff rehired back into my store until the middle of January, and after training them, it wasn't, like I said, until near the end of January before I could finally take a day off. And if working open to close really wasn't bad enough, Radio Shack at that time was actually heavily into selling wireless cell phones. And the big thing that was going on was, if you didn't sell your quota of cell phones in that day, you had to actually get on a conference call after you closed with the district manager to explain why you didn't meet your quota and what you were going to do differently the next day to make sure you met your quota. Now here's the thing, my location was actually one of the top stores in our entire district. And even though I was working by myself, I was still able to meet my quota of selling wireless units in my location. The problem is there were some stores that were kind of cheating the system and they were selling units, but they were selling them, let's just say, not honestly. And obviously when the customers realized what was happening, they wanted to return those handsets at that location. Except that location had employees that were, obviously if they were selling them dishonestly, they were also being dishonest about the returns. And they were actually telling the customers to come to my location because that's the location to do returns at. So even though I would sell a unit, I would end up having a unit returned from another location, and it would look like I didn't sell anything at all. So for example, if my quota was 3, I sold 4, but then I had 2 returned from another location. Even though I sold my 4, the daily total said I only sold 2. So then I had to get on this conference call. Now, obviously on the P&L report, which is the profit and loss report, which obviously anybody who's managed retail knows what a P&L is. At the end of the period, every one of those handsets that I was returning that was sold from another location, the sales crisscrossed. So I didn't actually lose out on any profitability. But obviously, in the current and the now, that didn't matter to them, because at the end of the day, my total for that day was not showing my quota. And actually, when this happened to me, my friend at the time actually stopped by on her way home from work, since her retail location closed at 9. Obviously, my retail location closed at 10. So she just stopped in just to check on me because she knew that this was happening to me. So she came in. I got on my conference call. And my district manager was always like, he'd ask every location that was in the call, like, what happened? What'd you do? What were you trying to do? How many this? Would you do that? Did you do this, that, and the third? So I finally got to him get to me. I didn't even know he called my name out. I was so exhausted, I actually passed out asleep on the phone while I'm sitting there. My friend was literally standing next to me, watched me pass out. She actually tried to wake me up to answer my district manager, because my district manager's like, hey, Matt, what happened with you today? Matt? Hey, Matt. And the way she told it is, after like the 3rd or 4th time he called for me, she literally just leaned over and was like, Matt's asleep. After a couple seconds, my district manager just went, hang up, get him home. And actually the next day he told me, look, if this happens, just text me, and just go home. He goes, I don't want you on those conference calls at all the rest of the season. Cool by me. Now, after all of this went down, after all this had occurred, after the retail shopping season, because the retail shopping season doesn't stop on the day before Christmas. You have another 30 days after that for people to do their returns, do their exchanges, spend, gift cards, gift receipts, this, that, and the third. Once all of that was done, the stress level I was under for that period of time just tore my body apart. Ended up going to get some checkups because things just weren't feeling right. Got myself checked out, and because of all the stress I had put myself under, I had burned a giant hole in the side of my stomach from an ulcer about the size of $50. And not only that, my blood work came back that I had then become anemic. So having a bleeding ulcer in my stomach and being anemic, yeah, you tend to get tired a bit. When I went to my district manager to tell him about this and say, look, I need to take some time off. I need to take vacation. I need to take a short-term medical leave of absence. I just have to do something because my health was kind of in jeopardy. He came back to me with a counteroffer. But that's a story for another time. Look, at the end of the day, what I want to take away from this is the fact that Black Friday is definitely changing in retail than years before. Every year it seemed like Black Friday was just kept getting longer and longer. The hours were getting longer, and then all of a sudden when retail wasn't opening on Thanksgiving Day, now all of a sudden retail was opening on Thanksgiving Day. So even the one day that people who worked in retail were able to spend with their family, now all of a sudden that's gone. But they're going to shorten the hours for Black Friday, but that still didn't make any difference. But I think that the growing trends are definitely changing. Even before everything with the pandemic happened, the trends were changing with shopping on Black Friday. A lot more people are going to shop online now. There's less people that I think are actually going to retail locations. So it's making it a whole lot easier shopping for Black Friday, shopping for deals for the holidays than it did in years past, where you had to go to the store in order to get the deals. And now with the pandemic happening, obviously retailers don't want to lose out on that shopping spree of the holidays, but now they're coming up with much better ways of doing it. Instead of making Black Friday on one day, or one weekend, now they're actually spreading it out where they're doing different deals, different days of alternating every other week, They're no longer doing the early, obviously because they can't, they're not doing the early openings on Black Friday to do the mass crowds, or obviously because we have to do limitations on of crowds and people shopping. Now a lot of locations are no longer going to be opening on Thanksgiving, which I think is a really, really good move. I think that's a really good idea. And I think I think at the end of the day, once even everything after COVID is done, this is probably going to be the way retail is going to do things moving forward. It's, like I said, with everyone doing things online now, and ship with everything being shipping, and then you're able to do same day pickup, next day pickup at the locations. You don't have to physically be in there and be in the long lines and getting all the frustration. You can just do everything online from your phone, from your computer, from your tablet. It just makes things so much easier. And I really think that that's the way things are going to go from now on. Just my opinion. Hello everyone, greetings and salutations, it's Madamus again. If you're watching me right now, that means you made it to the end of my video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you watched, please make sure you hit the like button. And if you're new to my channel, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to follow me on all my other social media platforms. Links are in the description down below. If you'd like to watch another one of my videos I've done, just click on the picture to the left of me. If you want to see all the videos I've done, just click on my face right down below me. Again, thank you so much for watching. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out.